Camilla plays a central role beside him. William and Catherine represent the future leadership of the monarchy, and George, Charlotte, and Louis represent the generation that will live with the consequences of decisions made today. That is a remarkable chain of continuity, but continuity does not mean every generation sees everything in exactly the same way. William may have his own ideas about how his children should be raised. Catherine may have her own priorities as a mother. Charles and Camilla belong to a different generation with their own experiences of royal life. These differences can exist without becoming a secret palace war, and that is an important distinction. The dramatic claim at the center of this story may suggest a direct clash between William and Camilla, but no evidence has been provided to confirm such a clash. Still, the public question remains. As William moves closer to the throne, will he increasingly take personal control over how his children are prepared for royal life? The answer, in a broad sense, seems inevitable. A parent naturally plays a central role in guiding a child, and for William, that responsibility is magnified by the extraordinary future facing his family. The detail that followed is what makes the entire story even more intriguing. Princess Charlotte is part of a generation benefiting from changes to the rules surrounding succession. Historically, royal succession rules treated male heirs differently from female heirs. That changed with the introduction of absolute primogeniture for eligible descendants under the modern rules. As a result, Charlotte retained her position in the line of succession after the birth of her younger brother, Louis. That was historically significant. It means Charlotte's place is determined by the order of birth under the modern succession rules, rather than being moved behind a younger brother simply because he is male. This gives her position a special place in the evolving history of the monarchy, and it also explains why public interest in her future continues to grow. She represents a new generation, a generation shaped by changes that would have been impossible under older royal traditions. So if William is thinking carefully about how Charlotte is introduced to the responsibilities surrounding royal life, that would make sense. But no specific event described in the title has been confirmed by the information provided. And that brings us back to Camilla. Why does her name add such drama to the story? Because Camilla's journey into the royal family has always existed alongside the enormous public legacy of Princess Diana. William, as Diana's eldest son, occupies a particularly complex position within that history. Today, however, Camilla is queen beside King Charles, while William is the Prince of Wales and heir to the throne. Their positions are part of the same institution, but they represent different generations of its leadership. That reality alone is enough to create endless speculation, but speculation should not become a substitute for evidence. There is no verified information here showing that Camilla attempted to control Charlotte's role. There is no verified request, there is no confirmed refusal, and there is no evidence of an emotional confrontation. The real drama lies elsewhere. It lies in the fact that the future of the monarchy is slowly becoming more visible. William is growing into the role of future king. Catherine is becoming increasingly associated with the future of the institution. George, Charlotte, and Louis are growing older, and with every passing year, the public begins asking more questions about what roles they may eventually play. Princess Charlotte's future remains unwritten. She may carry out royal duties, she may develop interests and responsibilities that differ from those of her parents. The exact shape of her adult role cannot be predicted, but one thing is certain: she will grow up in a family where history and expectation are impossible to escape. And perhaps that is the most important meaning behind the story. The image of William personally accompanying Charlotte, whether the specific claim is ultimately verified or not, reflects the public's fascination with a father preparing his daughter for an extraordinary future. Not by handing her a crown, not by placing her at the center of a fictional palace conflict, but by guiding her through the complicated world into which she was born. That is where the emotional heart of the story lies. William knows what it means to be watched. He knows what it means to grow up knowing that his future has already been mapped by the line of succession. Charlotte's experience will be different. She is not the direct heir after William in the same way George is, but her position remains historically and publicly significant, and William may understand better than almost anyone else how important it is to allow a royal child to grow into their role, rather than forcing the weight of the institution onto them too early. So what does the dramatic headline really leave us with? It leaves us with an unconfirmed claim. The information provided does not establish that Camilla made a request. It does not establish that William refused her. It does not identify a specific royal trust. And it does not confirm that William personally escorted Charlotte into such an institution. Those details remain unverified. But the questions raised by the story are very real. How will William and Catherine guide their children as they grow older? How much of royal tradition will the next generation preserve? How much will change? What role will Charlotte eventually choose to play? And as William moves closer to becoming king, how much of the future monarchy is already being shaped by the decisions he makes as a father today? Those questions may ultimately prove more important than the dramatic claim that started the conversation, because the next era of the monarchy is not going to begin on the day William simply receives a new title. It is already being prepared in quieter ways, through the experiences of his children, through the choices William and Catherine make as parents, through the responsibilities the younger generation gradually learns to understand, and through the difficult balance between public duty and private family life. One day, William may lead the monarchy. One day, Catherine may stand beside him as queen. And when that moment arrives, George, Charlotte, and Louis will no longer be simply the young children seen occasionally at royal events. They will be adults shaped by the extraordinary world around them. What roles they choose or are expected to play remains one of the biggest unanswered questions about the monarchy's future. And perhaps that is why this story has created such interest, not because we can confirm a secret confrontation between William and Camilla, not because there is evidence of a hidden royal trust ceremony, but because it reminds people that the future is already approaching. Princess Charlotte is growing up. Prince William is moving closer to the responsibilities he has prepared for throughout his life, and the decisions being made about family, privacy, and duty today may influence the monarchy for decades to come. So the final question remains: as William takes an increasingly personal role in guiding the next generation, will the future monarchy look more traditional than ever, or will Princess Charlotte and her generation help redefine what it means to be royal? That answer has not yet been written, but the world will be watching as the next chapter unfolds.
He understands the responsibilities of raising children. He understands the pressures placed upon a royal marriage. And he understands the enormous weight attached to public duty. That means any genuine private message from Diana could potentially carry a completely different meaning now than it would have years ago. And this is where the story takes an unexpected turn. The most dramatic version of this claim suggests that what William read stunned all of Britain. But what if the true significance of such a letter was never about a shocking royal secret? What if the message, if it existed, was personal? What if it was never intended to become a headline? What if the most powerful part of the story was not what Diana supposedly revealed about the monarchy, but what she might have wanted her son to know? That possibility is impossible to ignore. And it also explains why the public continues to be fascinated by anything connected to Diana's private world. A speech is designed to be heard. An official statement is designed to be read. But a personal letter is different. It captures a private moment. It can preserve thoughts that were never spoken publicly. It can remain hidden for years. And when discovered, it can suddenly connect two moments in history that seemed completely separated by time. For William, the distance between those two moments is enormous. On one side is the child who lost his mother. On the other is the future king. Between them lies an entire lifetime: marriage, fatherhood, duty, loss, responsibility, and the gradual approach of a future role that has followed him since birth. That is why the alleged discovery of a letter has created such an emotional reaction, because it represents something no royal title can replace: a connection to the past. But then another question emerged. If such a letter truly existed, why would it only be discovered now? Was it misplaced? Was it intentionally preserved? Did someone know about it? Was it always meant to remain private? And most importantly, was it genuinely written by Diana? These are the questions that would have to be answered before any dramatic claim could be treated as confirmed. Without authentication, a document cannot simply be declared genuine. Without verified contents, nobody can honestly claim to know what Diana wrote. And without a confirmed public event, nobody should invent a moment in which William stood before an audience and read the letter aloud. Yet, even without those answers, the story reveals something extraordinary. The world is still searching for Diana. Not literally, but through the pieces of her life that remain. People search through old photographs, they revisit interviews, they examine public appearances, they discuss memories shared by those who knew her. And whenever the possibility emerges that there may still be something unseen, public curiosity immediately explodes. Why? Because Diana's story never feels entirely finished. And perhaps it never will. Her death in 1997 created a moment of national and international grief that remains unforgettable. But her influence continued through her sons. William and Harry grew up. Their lives took different directions.
Their relationships with the royal family became subjects of intense public attention. And still, one constant remained: they were Diana's sons. For William especially, that connection has become increasingly intertwined with his royal identity. He is now the Prince of Wales, the same title that became inseparable in the public imagination from Diana herself. His wife, Catherine, is now the Princess of Wales, and one day William is expected to become king. The past, present, and future of the monarchy now meet in his story. That is what makes the idea of a hidden letter so compelling. It is not just about a document, it is about what happens when the past suddenly reaches into the future. And what happened next made the mystery even more intriguing. Royal watchers began asking whether a discovery from Diana's life could possibly change the way William sees his own future. Not because a letter could somehow command him to act, not because Diana could have written a secret set of instructions determining the future of the monarchy. There is no evidence of anything like that. But memories can influence people. Experiences can shape decisions. Parents influence children long after childhood has ended. And for William, Diana's influence has always been a part of the public conversation surrounding his life. The question is, how much of that influence is visible and how much remains entirely private? Perhaps that is something only William truly knows. And that brings us to the most sensitive part of this story. The temptation to invent the contents of a letter from Diana would be enormous. A shocking warning would create headlines. A dramatic secret would create controversy. A supposed message about the royal family would immediately dominate public discussion. But if those words were not authentic, they would not belong to Diana. They would belong to whomever invented them, and that would destroy the very thing that makes the mystery so powerful. Diana's actual voice is already part of history. Her real interviews exist. Her documented public statements exist. Her real legacy exists. There is no need to put imaginary words into her mouth. Instead, the mystery surrounding the alleged letter becomes more meaningful when we consider what its discovery could represent. For William, it could represent memory. For the public, it could represent history. For the monarchy, it could represent another reminder that Diana's influence remains impossible to ignore. But there was another layer to this story. William is approaching a point in his life where every aspect of his past is being viewed through the lens of his future. When he was younger, he was simply the eldest son of the Prince and Princess of Wales. Then he became one of the most prominent young members of the royal family. Then he married Catherine and started a family of his own. Now he is the direct heir to the throne. The closer William moves towards his future role, the more people ask what kind of king he may one day become. Will he preserve tradition? Will he modernize the monarchy? Will his own experiences influence the way he leads?
Everyone wants to imagine what Diana might have said. But the truth cannot be replaced by imagination, and so the mystery remains. What was William said to have discovered? Where did it allegedly come from? Who preserved it? Was it authentic? And if it truly was written by Diana, what did she actually say? Until those questions are answered with evidence, there is no honest way to reveal the contents. But that does not mean the story has no ending, because the deeper answer may already be in front of us. Diana's greatest message may not be hidden inside a letter at all. Her influence can be seen in the continuing story of her sons. It can be seen in the way the public still responds to her name. It can be seen in the attention surrounding William as he prepares for the greatest responsibility of his life. And it can be seen in the extraordinary emotional connection people still feel to a woman who died decades ago. One day, William is expected to become king. When that day arrives, the world will look closely at the man standing before it. They will look at his decisions, his priorities, his family, his relationship with tradition, and the kind of monarchy he chooses to lead. And inevitably, they will also look back. They will remember King Charles, they will remember Queen Elizabeth II, and they will remember Diana. Not because the past can dictate the future, but because the people who shape us never completely disappear from our story. For William, that may be the most important truth of all. He can move forward, he can prepare for the crown, he can build his own family and define his own future. But Diana will always remain part of the journey that brought him there. So perhaps the real question is not simply what was written in a hidden letter. Perhaps the real question is whether there are still parts of Diana's story that the world has yet to understand. Are there memories that will remain private forever? Are there documents that have never been publicly revealed? Are there stories known only to the people closest to her? And as William moves closer to becoming king, could the past one day return in a way nobody expects? For now, the alleged letter remains surrounded by unanswered questions. There is no verified text, no confirmed public reading, no authenticated revelation that can be presented as fact. But the fascination surrounding the claim reveals something far more certain. Even after all these years, the world is still listening for Diana's voice. And perhaps the reason is simple. Her story did not end with her. It continued through William. The young boy once photographed walking beside his mother is now the man preparing for a future that could place him at the very center of the British monarchy. And if a genuine message from Diana were ever discovered and authenticated, the world would undoubtedly want to know every word. But until then, the greatest mystery remains the future itself. What kind of king will William become? How will Catherine stand beside him? How will the next generation reshape the monarchy? And when William finally steps into the role he has spent his entire life preparing for, how much of the mother he lost will the world still see in the king he becomes?
Perhaps that is the one answer no hidden letter could ever fully provide, because the true legacy of Diana may not be waiting inside a forgotten document. It may already be unfolding in the life of the son she left behind.